Hello everyone, Metallian Magic here, and today I have a fat pack of Magic Origins to unbox for you. So if you've watched the other fat pack unboxing videos that I have up on the channel, you'll be familiar with the contents of a fat pack, and for those of you who aren't, we'll go through some of the cool collector's items quickly. One cool thing that I would like to note about this release, I'm gonna just take this plastic off here, I'll tell you guys while I'm doing that, is that the 5 planeswalkers that are featured in the story are featured on the booster box art and fat pack sleeve art. So unlike with some sets, most sets actually, pretty much all that I can think of, where the fat pack sleeve contains one particular piece of artwork that you will receive on all fat packs that you purchase. In this set, you can purchase a Nissa fat pack, or a Jace fat pack, or a Liliana fat pack, and it won't affect the contents of the fat pack, but it will give you, some different posters to collect, as each sleeve has different artwork, both outside and in. So, that being said, we have the typical interior fat pack contents here of a player's guide and a beautiful cardboard packing material thing. So, the player's guide is one of my favorite parts of opening a fat pack, because in the player's guide you get information about the set. In this case, some information about the mechanics like Renown and Spell Mastery that are new in this set. You get some basic information, since this is a core set and the last core set, although, as I said in the booster box video, booster box opening video, I think at some point down the road they'll do like a one-off, hey, remember when we did these core set, but it'll be years in the future. So for the foreseeable future, this is the last core set, and there's a loud vehicle in the vicinity. So the multiverse, planeswalkers, colors, just some basic information about the main things that make Magic sort of the property that it is. And some information about the main characters, Gideon, Liliana, Chandra, etc., planeswalkers. As per usual, I assume they have a 10 coolest cards article, and this showcases some cards that are going to be both limited and constructed all-stars, as well as just some cards that from a design or development standpoint do something interesting, like or different, like Demonic Pact. And like I said, powerful cards like Pile Driver and Fingerback Walker was already shown to be a powerful card and constructed, as Jeff Hoogland played a blue-white control deck this past weekend with 4 of these in the main, and he top 8'd the Star City Open with it. So Fingerback Walker constructed, playable. And then in the back, the card encyclopedia, where every card in the set is laid out in visual form, in Wooburg color order, and then the checklist in the back, in the very back, I assume. Or do they not have a checklist this time around? Doesn't seem like they do. They usually have a checklist in the back where you can check off which cards you've collected in foil and non-foil. It doesn't look like they have that this time, or maybe they're switching over to a non-checklist format. Maybe people just didn't like that enough. That's possible. So, inside here there's Nissa art, and I'm not gonna take this out right now because it's basically a large version of her pre-Planeswalker art, I can tell, with the Planeswalker face looming in the background. So it's basically the exact same piece of artwork on the outside here, but larger. Alright, and we have an anti-theft device, exciting. Joining me tonight is Megan Ruggiero.
Hello, friends. Just so you know, it's about 90 degrees here. It's 10 p.m. We may or may not be wearing bathing suits. Your host's bathing suit is bright orange and looks like it's about from 1985.
It probably is. So
you can go ahead and just envision that throughout this.
This image will not be posted as the thumbnail for the video. So, inside of the fat pack here, and I just want to mention, when you see this particular playmat, that usually means that I'm with Megan. So, that being said, we have the boxes, and this time around it's basically just a Planeswalker symbol, one of them against black, one of them against white, and the flip side has it's kind of like a yin-yang theme going on with the color scheme here. But no artwork, basically, there's no character artwork or whatever on these boxes this time around. So the fat pack contains 9 booster packs, and this time we got a white spin down. That is random, so it's not going to match the color of the Planeswalker on the art. That's something that people have wondered about this particular fat pack. Well, if I buy a Nissa fat pack, will I get a green spin down? You will not. you will just get a random spin down that is placed in these, completely randomly. So I got a white one in this pack, and a basic land stack as well. And this has been true for fat packs since time immemorial. Not really. So this first grouping here has 5 fat packs with a rules reference card in the middle. So let's open these up. Okay. The other half, I shouldn't say half because there's no way to evenly divide 5 and 4, but the other group has the 4 fat packs remaining as the 4 booster packs remaining, as well as the basic land. So our first pack has Infectious Bloodlust, Enshrouding Mist, Eyeblight Assassin, Mage-Ring Bully, Orchard Spirit, Negate, Bogart Brute, Knight of the Pilgrim's Road, Nantuko Husk, Deep Sea Terror. Our first uncommon is Sigil of Valor, followed by Totem Guide, Heart Beast, or as I like to call him, Heart Beast, because of that spelling. Malakir Cullblade, a rare, a Gaia's Revenge, an 8/5, can't be countered, haste, can't be the target of non-green spells or abilities from non-green sources. A real nightmare for control decks. This is something that a green deck would love to have in the sideboard against a control deck. Of course, sweepers can deal with it, but removal spells like Hero's Downfall, counter spells like Dissolve, these things don't deal with it. And even if they have a sweeper, because this has haste, it's going to get a pretty big hit in before they're able to sweep the board. So this is a very cool card, and this is a reprint from an older core set, either M11 or M12. I want to say M11. Could be M13. It's one of those 3 actually. I wasn't playing during that time period, so I don't know. But I do know that this was a mythic actually in one of those core sets. So this was downgraded to rare in this set.
Me like you, big green creatures.
Oh, and this is the swamp. I was mentioning to Megan earlier that there is a particular swamp in this set, and I really like the piece of art on this particular swamp. Well, here you go. This is one of my favorite swamp artworks in Magic. So cool. And a Thopter. I would really love a foil copy of that swamp, and since it is in Magic Origins, it will not be difficult to obtain said foil copy or copies of that swamp. That art has been on swamps in other sets in the past. Our next pack has Oromancer, Weight of the Underworld. There's some cards that I talked about a little bit more in depth on the booster box opening video that you guys can go watch on the channel, so I'm not going to do too much card analysis on this video of the commons, that is. I might talk about some uncommons and rares, but I will say that these 2 cards formed a really neat combo in the first pre-release that I played in, because obviously with Weight of the Underworld you're able to potentially kill a 2 toughness creature, and with Oromancer you're able to get Weight of the Underworld back from your graveyard to apply it to another creature. So I had 2 Weight of the Underworlds, 2 copies of it in my my deck on day 1 of the pre-release, and an Oromancer was able to pull that combo off, and that was really fun. For me, probably not for my opponent. Infectious Bloodlust, Enshrouding Mist, Yeva's Force Mage, Negate, Wild Instincts, Evolving Wilds, Stalwart Aven, Guardian Automaton, Ghirapur Aether Grid, that's our first uncommon, then Anointer of Champions, and Gnarlroot Trapper. Rare, Llanowar Wastes. Cool. So these enemy color pain lands were reprinted in this set. They were in last year's core set, and this is fine by me because I already have a playset of all 5 of the enemy color pain lands, but that just means that any extras that I open like this, I can trade away to newer players who need them for standard, and get something that I need out of those trades. So for me that works well. It also I guess works for newer players who need these for standard. For someone who's opening the packs, I was talking to Megan about this earlier, for someone who's opening the packs more as a collector or as a fan of the feel of the set, opening multiples of these in a fat pack at rare, which she did, kind of feels bad because they're not really cards that she's excited to add to her collection. So, I wonder in the future if these pain lands are cards that they could move to uncommon. I don't know if they will, because I know that they like having, no more than but up to 5 rare dual style lands in some sets, and that's been something that they've done for a long time. But something worth thinking about. We have an island and a spell mastery explainer card, or spell mastery information card.
Jason, are there any creature types that you think will emerge in either limited or constructed in this set to create some mad nasty decks?
Sure. The set definitely. I won't list off the names of the commons in this pack. I'll answer that question as I just go through the commons here on this next pack. This set definitely. Well, there's an elf. This set definitely has a powerful group of elves. It definitely has some powerful goblins. It doesn't have like a huge goblin theme, but considering there are already powerful goblins in standard, like Rabblemaster and cards like Hordling Outburst, the next few months will be months in which goblin decks will be potentially running rampant at FNM. The addition of Piledriver to Modern has also enticed people into trying out, more people I should say, into trying out Goblins in Modern, as Goblins was already kind of a tier 2, tier 3, sort of a fringe deck in Modern, but I think because Battle for Zendikar is the next standard legal set, and Zendikar #1 had both an abundance of elves and goblins, and there are some powerful, or at least a powerful goblin in this set, and a bunch of elves in this set, I think that sort of hints at more goblins and elves on the way in Battle from Zendikar, and with the printing of that set, I think those two sort of classic creature types could form decks that become standard mainstays over the next, however long.
You stole my next question. Carry on.
Elves being the main one, though, this set has an amazingly high concentration of good elves. Patron of the Valiant is our first uncommon, followed by Valor in Akros and Jaim De Tome. We have a rare, we have a Relic Seeker. So this is a cool card. This is kind of like the nerfed Stoneforge Mystic, no foil, plain. So I'll tell a quick little story about Relic Seeker. I promised the story in the booster box opening video, and now I forget if I actually ended up telling it. I may have forgotten to. So if I didn't, I'll add that in text form in the comments of the booster box video, and I'll tell the story here as I go through the commons in this pack. So at my first pre-release, where I had a white-black deck, one of my games started with a series of plays that saw me play Relic Seeker, attack with it, getting through, searching up a throwing knife, followed by a turn, or no, on that turn, because that was turn 3, I also played a Stalwart Aven, so then on turn 4, I was able to cast the throwing knife and equip it to the Aven, and I made the comment to a friend of mine that it was kind of like nerfed Caw-Blade, because back in 2010 or so, there was a very dominant standard deck that sought to play Stoneforge Mystic, search up like sort of Feast and Famine or sort of War and Peace, and put it on a Squadron Hawk, or play a Squadron Hawk, get other Squadron Hawks, and then basically equip your birds with swords, and it was called Caw-Blade, because the birds were calling their friends to beat you down with swords. So it was just funny that game of Limited with this set started off with a play pattern that was kind of like mini worse Caw-Blade. And my friend thought that was funny, I thought that was funny. And I mention this because this set has a lot of cards that are not on the same power level, but are reminiscent of older cards, like Evolutionary Leap is reminiscent of Survival of the Fittest, and Starfield of Nyx is reminiscent of something like Opalescence, or sort of the old Opalescence Replenish decks. And so it's kind of cool that they thought about that experience, and not just constructed, but in Limited as well, although Relic Seeker in that instance was my promo, so it's not like you'll just be getting Relic Seekers in draft all the time, but it was my white promo that day. Because I chose white for that pre-release. Our first uncommon in this pack is Zendikar Incarnate, followed by Consul's Lieutenant and Ramroller. We have an Embermaw Hellion, which was my promo on day 2 of the pre-release, and that deck was also sweet. It was a black-red deck that went undefeated, and this card was my promo, and is very good and limited. Plains, and Liliana Vest information card. So I've opened, in this fat pack, copies of both of the cards that I had as promos at my pre-releases. Alright. Pack number 5. Demolish, Even Battle Priest, Eyeblight Assassin, Chandra's Fury, Farika's Disciple, Disperse, Elvish Visionary, a powerful elf. This elf sees play in Modern and Legacy Elves, and now it's Standard legal as well. It has been Standard legal in the past, of course. Nivix Barrier, Might of the Masses, Screeching Scab, or Scob, as some people pronounce it. Our first uncommon is Shadows of the Past, followed by Bounding Crassus, and Shaman of the Pack. This is one of the most powerful elves in the set. A 3/2 for 1 black-green elf shaman. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to the number of elves you control. So right now in Standard, it's entirely possible to play a turn 1 Elvish Mystic, followed by, let's say, a turn 2 Dwinnen's Elite and Elvish Mystic number 2. That brings you up to 4 elves, and then when you play this on turn 3, you're hitting them for 5 off of the Enters the Battlefield ability of Shaman of the Pack, in addition to the fact that you have a bunch of elves that can attack. So this is one of those cards that if a standard elf deck becomes popular, will almost certainly be a core part of that archetype. And our rare talent of the Telepath, and a Forest, and a Knight with Vigilance.
So Jason, in that pack, if you were to choose that pack for your first pack in a draft, would you first pick Shaman of the Pack?
I like the wordplay there. That's an interesting choice, or that's an interesting question. A, because this pack isn't really that deep. Like this pack is not great for limited. Yeah, and the thing is, there's an Eyeblight Assassin and there's an Elvish Visionary. People might just pick those cards up for their non-elf decks over the first 8 picks. It's kind of possible that one of those comes back if you first pick the Shaman, although I seriously doubt it just because this pack is so weak. I mean, most of the good cards in this pack are black or green. You've got Eyeblight, you've got Disciple, you've got Visionary, you've got Might of the Masses. Shadows of the Past is... I'm not sure if this is going limited yet, but it's definitely something that you could build around. It seems like it could be fine in a black-blue control deck. The cards that I would consider first picking are actually the 2 multicolor cards, which is not typical in draft, but I think if I were going to... Well, I wouldn't pick the Crassus first, because I think I'd rather pick, like, Eyeblight Assassin or Shadows of the Past first, though I don't think I'd be happy about either of those. So yeah, I think I would pick Shaman of the Pack. In many packs, I would be unhappy picking a multicolor card, although if you are going to try to force the elf archetype, you're probably going to be black-green, and this is one of the cards that you really want in your deck. So if you are going to try to force an archetype, and if you're going to do so, I think Elves is in this format the one you want to force, though I don't often advocate forcing an archetype. Shaman of the Pack is a card you really want in that deck, so yeah, I think out of this particularly weak pack, seeing as how if this deck comes together it's incredibly powerful, I would first pick Shaman of the Pack. Ooh. Hey guys. Filming at Megan's apartment, so, you know, not my typical camera space. Technical difficulties happen from time to time.
Blame the apartment.
I'm not going to open the basic land pack because it's a package of basic land, you know, in even amounts, so it's the same, you know, number of swamps, islands, plains, etc. that you get in here. So just a cool thing if you like collecting the basic land art from different sets, but not really worth opening on camera. So we have 4 more packs to go. We've opened 0 mythic, 0 foils so far, although with 4 packs to go, it's entirely possible that we will. Enshrouding Mist, Weight of the Underworld, a Crowan Sergeant, Orchard Spirit, Aspiring Aeronaut, Titan Strength, Read the Bones. 2 Theros reprints that, interestingly enough, in another pack in the booster box, I saw these back-to-back in the same order as well. It's worth noting. Calculated Dismissal, Llanowar Empath, Enlightened Ascetic. Our first uncommon is Tormented Thoughts, followed by Acolyte of the Inferno, and Fiery Conclusion. We have a rare, we have a Gideon's Phalanx. And a swamp. And a knight. Okay. Maybe I'll do some sort of cool, like, earthquake-style video effect during that moment where I knocked the tripod so that it kind of looks like the world is exploding.
Yeah.
Okay. Smash to smithereens. Healing Hands, Infernal Scarring, Nivix Barrier, Timberpack Wolf, Bonded Construct, Pricklebore, Reeve Soul, Fairy Miscreant, Llanowar Empath, Joraga Invocation is our first uncommon, followed by Chief of the Foundry and Blessed Spirits, a card that people have pointed out as the saddest card in the set. Because it's... Somebody on a podcast that I listened to made the assertion or assertion?
Assertion.
Yeah, assertion isn't a word, is it?
No.
It sounds cool. That these kids probably died as jump blockers. They were probably like 01s that just died and then became 2/2s. Or they're combined at 2/2s. They're each like probably 1/1s, but they're a joined entity now in death as blessed spirits.
/ creepy children.
Yes. Rare. Herald of the Pantheon, cool. This is a card that I actually have not opened yet, up until now in the packs that I've opened, on camera and off. And this is a card that, while legal with Theros Block for only a few months, has me excited to potentially brew an enchantment-themed, like a Constellation deck with this and Courser of Krufix and Eidolon of Blossoms and Doomwake Giant, maybe Starfield of Nyx. Maybe not though, maybe just green-black, and maybe... I mean, if you have white, you have access to things like Banishing Light and Suppression Field, or not Suppression Field, whatever the thing is from Khan's block. I think it's called Suppression Field. And then with green, of course, now your Courser costs 2, your Eidolon Blossoms costs 3. If you get 2 of these guys out, your Eidolon costs 2. Doomwake Giant, you know, getting reduced in cost and being a win condition is pretty sweet. So yeah, I think that that deck might be really fun and actually might be pretty good. And this card is definitely going to cause people to rethink that archetype. We have an island and an elf warrior.
While opening your next pack, do you want to talk a little bit about the renown and spell mastery mechanics of this set and how they tie into the story and essence of Origins?
Sure. So Renown I really like because it's a way of representing a creature becoming famous for essentially attacking a planeswalker and succeeding. Because you as a player represent a planeswalker, and this mechanic represents the creature dealing damage to you and then being known throughout the land, and that fame gives it access to, you know, an ability, greater power and toughness, maybe because of greater, you know, weapons and armor or something like that. It's kind of like a cool way of representing a creature leveling up, similar to mechanics they've done in the past, like Monstrous or the actual level up mechanic from Rise of the Eldrazi. I like those style mechanics, and this is a really cool way of representing that aspect of the story in a mechanical form. I really like that the mechanics in this set are competitive and potentially powerful on the right cards, but tell the story as well. Spell Mastery I think does an even better job of this, because Spell Mastery was built off of the idea that the planeswalkers that are depicted in the story go from creature to, or, you know, from regular person to planeswalker throughout the story that's being told in Origins, and the spell mastery mechanic sort of represents the spells that they're learning on their journey to become a planeswalker, and that once you've cast enough spells, your spells gain this like planeswalker-like power because you've leveled up your own knowledge of spellcasting. Just before I go through this pack, I think my favorite Renown card off the top of my head is probably Relic Seeker, and my favorite Spell Mastery card is probably Exquisite Firecraft. But if I looked at a whole list of the set, like those are just gut reactions. I might be forgetting a card that I really like. So this pack has Dark Dabbling, Chandra's Fury, Charging Griffin, Macabre Waltz, the grossest art in the set, Disperse, Caustic Caterpillar, great name, Stalwart Aven. This was my mini Cobblade buddy here, Bird Soldier. I talked about earlier. Returned Centaur, Ring Warden Owl, Mantle of Webs. First uncommon here is a Murder Investigation that I just dinged. Conclave Naturalists, a Jam-Day Tome, and a Mythic. Pyromancer's Goggles. So this is a legendary artifact. This is these actually are Jaya Ballard's goggles that Chandra inherits due to spending some time at Karol Keep on Regatha. And even though this is an artifact, it's very much a red card because its ability is tap, add red to your mana pool. When that mana is spent to cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell and you may choose new targets for the copy. It costs 5 colorless to cast, but of course casting this right away after, tapping this right after you resolve it to either cast a Wild Slash or a Magmatic Insight, which is a card in the set, seems pretty cool. So this is definitely one sort of like maybe a big red archetype to keep an eye on. This also seems like a really cool thing to do with Hordeling Outburst. So you are spending 3 mana for 6 1/1 goblins. That seems pretty good. And an island and a Renown Explanation card. So 1 mythic, 1 more pack to go. So we might have another one. No foil yet, but it's perfectly within the realm of variance for a fat pack to not contain a foil, so.
Also, there are people, me, that open a fat pack and don't receive any mythics, and the only foil I received was a basic land.
That is true.
There are those people.
That is true. To be fair, foil basic lands to many people are actually more valuable than the average foil common. The average foil basic land goes for 75 cents to $1. The average foil common probably a little less, so. I mean, I'm not saying that your fat pack was great, just. It's a thing, could be worse. Anyway, the Crowan Sergeant starts off our last booster pack here. Charging Griffin, we're almost at a half an hour and I want to keep it under, so. Vastwood Gorger, Artificer's Epiphany, Dreadwaters, although I'm sure there are many of you out there who wish this video was shorter. If that's the case, let me know, because I know I tend to want to give you guys sort of like a full, half hour of entertainment with these videos, but if you want them to be shorter en masse, let me know, and I take that feedback to heart. This is Pilgrimage, Suppression Bonds, Veteran Sidearm, Titan Strength. Our first uncommon is Sky Snare Spider, followed by Valorant Acros and Fleshbag Marauder. We have a rare, a Mage Ring Responder. This is one of those cards that's kind of reminiscent of an older card. It's reminiscent of Phyrexian Colossus. And do we have a foil? We do. So we have at least a foil in this fat pack. It's a foil Fairy Miscreant. The wings look really cool in particular there. And we have a Plains and a Nissa explanation card. We didn't really get many tokens in this fat pack, but that is okay. So I'm going to sort out the rares, mythic, and foil, and come back in a moment to just do a quick rares, mythic, foil recap, and that'll be it. Alright, so a quick recap of the rares, mythic rare, and foil. This fat pack contained, for rares, Gaia's Revenge, Llanowar Wastes, Relic Seeker, Embermaw Hellion, Talent of the Telepath, Gideon's Phalanx, Herald of the Pantheon, and Mage Ring Responder. It had 1 mythic rare, Pyromancer's Goggles, and 1 foil common, Fairy Miscreant. So, this is about average. Opening a fat pack, on average you will get 1 mythic, 1 foil. Some fat packs are going to have more, some have less. I mean, there are some fat packs that I've seen people open with no mythics or no foils completely, but 1 foil and 1 mythic is kind of the average, so this fat pack, in terms of numbers, was average. And some cool stuff, definitely. Some cards here that are reminiscent, as I mentioned, of older cards, like Relic Seeker being reminiscent of Stoneforge Mystic, and Mage Ring Responder being reminiscent of Phyrexian Colossus. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Magic Origins fat pack opening. Over the next few months, I'm going to do hopefully another Opening 7 episode. So stay tuned for that, talking about some keep or mulligan decisions with a deck. And then it'll be time for Battle for Zendikar and a booster box and fat pack opening of that set in the fall. So, Megan, do you have anything to say before we sign off?
Just stay magey, my friends.
I don't think I can top that. So,